We've had a lot of people talking to us about how do I get citizenship abroad? How do I get visas abroad? How do I move to other countries? And what's the best way to do it? This is really interesting because it is completely unique to the person. The first question is, where do you want to go? It's funny because a lot of people are like, I want to get outside the US. Great. To what country? They're like, I want to get outside the US. Hold up. There's a lot of choices out there. We need to know which one you're talking about. We hear a lot, I want an EU passport. The bonus of the EU passport is it works all the way across the EU. You can pass through just like a driver's license, no big deal. And the combination of a US passport and an EU passport really does get you into most countries pretty easily. Because you always want to check not only the country you're going to, but where you've been from and look at what the visa rules are, what the citizenship rules are, what crossovers. Getting an EU passport, everybody's answer was, I'm just going to get the golden visa at Portugal. I have clients working on this for over 2 years and still don't have it. The golden visa in Portugal was the winner for quite a while. And then Portugal as a country said, I'm not sure we want a whole bunch of people doing this. By nature, they were saying, if you get this golden visa, you invest in real estate or in businesses. The result was a lot of the housing in Portugal got very expensive because a lot of money from the outside came in. So it's that double-edged sword. At the same time, there are other countries that said, I want some of that golden visa money. You can do it Malta, get an EU passport, but then it's cheaper than Portugal, and you can even do it on a rent. It's kind of a weird setup, but it's an option. The easiest option for many people going to EU, if you're going to go stay in the EU, there's quite a few digital nomad visas. For example, if you go to France and you're earning income outside of France, I think it's $50,000 minimum, you can get a digital nomad visa. They also have one for retirees, same type of thing. There's specific rules, but what they want is people that have remote jobs who are going to then bring money into the economy. That digital worker visa is really important. The downside is, you're like, oh, I lost my digital job. You may have trouble with your visa. So many of these are paths to permanent citizenship, but you need to understand the rules. Each country has different things. If you want to be a citizen, you have to pass a language test. You may have to live in the country for a certain period of time. Some do not have a residency requirement. Each country has its own weirdness. For people that are looking at the EU passport path, the first question I ask is, do you have any grandparents or great-grandparents that came from an EU country? Many of the EU countries and a lot of countries around the world have citizenship by descent. For example, I went to get mine because my family's from Lithuania. My great-grandfather was the first to leave, which would qualify me. But he left too early. Lithuania as a country went through a lot of turmoil on when people were actual Lithuanian citizens, when they were Polish citizens, other things. He left in the period when Lithuania wasn't really a country, didn't qualify. My wife, on the other hand, her mother was the first to come here from Poland. We were able to get Polish citizenship through there. The way that works is you provide a copy of the passport, your marriage license, and your birth certificate, a whole bunch of paperwork. Most countries are going to require you to actually translate it into their language. So we did it in Polish. You have a lawyer in country, which is in Poland for us, file the paperwork. Now, we've been on that about a year so far. It's about 18 months, but it's going to be less than $3,000. So the citizenship by descent isn't necessarily the fastest. It is usually the cheapest. A little weirdness, my wife's going to get an EU passport. She's going to be an EU citizen. I'm going to be the married partner of an EU citizen. I can be a resident. I can over time then earn my citizenship. It's a way to do it. If you can do it by descent, always look at descent. The other option is you just buy one. Thailand, very cheap. Last time I looked, it was less than $50,000, and you can actually get in for less years. There's a bunch of simple ways there. I did one looking at Costa Rica. That one was a $125,000 investment. If you Google golden passport or double citizenship, there's a whole bunch of resources on this. There's a great website called Nomad Capitalist that goes through a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of professional help that can get you through it. There's lawyers that'll do this. Henley and Partners is one of my favorite, but they charge $10K plus to do it. But you do want to make sure the paperwork is done correctly. What you want to be figuring out is, where do you ultimately want to live? Now, if you don't know where you want to live, okay, go travel for 6 months at a time and don't get citizenship yet. Don't get a visa yet because you may change your mind. You need to be thinking through the long term. The other long term is the question on taxes. As a U.S. citizen, you're taxed on your worldwide earnings. Now I take up residency somewhere else. I get citizenship elsewhere. I need to know what the tax treaty is and how my income is going to get taxed across the countries. It is an issue. You need to be aware of it, and you're going to have to work with a cross-border CPA, and often it helps to work with a certified financial planner on your overall plan. The bonus is you can get passports across the world relatively cheaply if you're willing to do the work. There are some countries, like you want to immigrate to Australia, you're almost never going to get it. Australia only takes people that have specific skills for specific jobs that companies have to lead really hard to get into that country. There are other countries that are like, please come here, come buy something from us, and we'll do that. There's some of the golden visas. If you put money towards art, it will get you there. There's cheaper ways to do it. Anytime you're going to do an investment in another country to get a visa, I always assume that money is lost. The challenge is, in the US, we have very detailed systems on what information we get from companies, what are the requirements for investments, everything the SEC does to regulate it. In other countries, you don't know. I've had folks ask me, is this a good investment in the other country? I'm like, I can't tell you, because the data source is not necessarily reliable. If you invest in a country and spend $250,000 to get the golden visa, you have to assume you're not going to make money on that, and you may not even get your money back. Essentially, I'm buying a visa for citizenship for $250,000. You get the money back. If you make the money on it, great. Just be careful, because there's a lot of services that will offer investments in order to get visas, and some of them are pretty shady. There was one I was working on, and we're working with a lawyer, and they had this shady way to do this. I said to the client, it was buying shares. This is shady shares. I just don't get it. She went to another lawyer and said, does this work? The other lawyer's like, yeah, it works. It still feels shady, but it worked. I'm not going to advise a client to do that, or at least I'm going to tell them, assume the money disappears, but it is an option. You just need to figure out what country you want to go to, and then start asking, how do I get citizenship? Don't just go, want other citizenship, I'm going to go apply for the golden visa at Portugal. That is an option, but that program, it's not reliable right now, but it's very popular online. Go look at the other countries. There's a lot of easier ways to do it.